Blessed sunrise. How are you doing today? I am Primalite, prepared for the world with the identity Isis. So we're talking on self-realization. And today I want to share some of my personal experience because in my personal experience scared a lot of people, even my family. And there's two particular gods would come, and it was a giant one and a short one, and I did not know who they were then. And he would sometimes he would just walk through the walls or whatever, and then put me in a trance, and I would like fall asleep, like go and so I said, I have to face all of these things because there's something is chasing me, and it's been the same being that's been chasing me. And I remember him saying that I told you that I will find you. And I said, and I kept asking myself, why does he want to find me, and why is he chasing me, and why is he always fighting with me? So he would change faces, and we would have many battles, many spiritual battles. And I kept being afraid. And so I one day now, and then so when I start, the first thing when I would wake up from like a sleep, then I started getting these words would come to me, and then I would start chanting them. I'm writing them into songs. So I remember after that, these words came to me. I am in command of the commandment command. I am in command of the commandment command. And so for about 2 or so weeks, I was chanting, I am in command of the commandment command. I claim my sovereignty. I claim no rivalry. All I want to do, I want to get to my truth. I want to get to the root. And I kept saying that over and over. Every day I was saying it over and chanting it over and over. And then after about those 2 or so weeks, then I had a visitor, and the visitor that came to me was the Archangel Gabriel. And I've heard of the Archangel Gabriel. I've never had any interaction with them because I stayed away from any gods, calling on any gods or any beings. And so when he came, he stood behind me because I was fighting with this being, which I know now who it was. It was Set. Set and Thor. So back then I did not know, and so I was fighting with them, and so I had a lot of fears, didn't want to sleep, and so I would sit up a lot during the night and stuff, and so the being Archangel Gabriel came, and he stood behind me, and he was towering over me, like really tall. And then there was a lady, did not know who she was, but she was the one that introduced him because I wouldn't have known who he was. And she said, look at you, having the Archangel Gabriel standing over you. But I did not turn around to look at him because he was tall, but what I felt was that the being that was fighting with, I didn't feel that. I felt safe. I felt the fear dissipated from me, and I relaxed. And he said, I am sent to escort you. So after me chanting for almost 3 weeks, I am in command of the commandment command. I claim my sovereignty. I claim no rivalry. I just want to get to my truth. I just want to get to the root. And I chanted that, and I sang it, and I chanted it for those times. And then that was after when he came and did that. And I said, okay, he's not coming to battle or fight with me because, like I said, I renounce all beings, all God, and I did not want to have anything to do with any of them because I wanted to get to the truth. And they were an obstruction to the truth. And I knew that within myself, that they were an obstruction to the truth, and they were going to stop me from getting to the truth. And this is the reason why I chanted that. And after me chanting it for almost 3 weeks, this was when this happened. So he came and he said, I'm sent to escort you. I never asked him who sent him or anything, but all I knew was that I went into a deep meditation. I went into a deep meditation, and when I went into the meditation, this wasn't like sleeping or anything. I was, in awareness and everything. Went into a deep meditation, and then this energy came, and this presence came and started healing me. And then it was like the spiral with a cone, and the energy was spiraling up like that, taking things out, and then spiraling down and putting thing in my navel, because I did not notice at the time that Seth was building something in my belly, because I was saying to my friends that there was a metal in my belly, and so he would come all the time and come in my body, fight with me, and I never knew like what was happening. Because once you start illuminating yourself, it's coming to take my light, and because we have a history that goes all the way back to ancient Egypt. So because I discovered that Seth was my brother in ancient Egypt, and so after I was taken to this sacred place, so I guess Gabriel protected me from Seth. So. Then the presence, and I said, oh, okay, this must be my soul, because I still did not understand the soul and the spirit, how that worked. And this is a confusion, because this is why people keep giving their soul away, because they themselves do not understand what the soul is. So because I did not know, I said, okay, the soul is not in the body, the soul is outside of the body, only the spirit was in. So I said, okay, that must be my soul coming to help me. But I realized later on that it wasn't my soul, it was, the supreme, the self-supreme. It was coming to assist me and taking out all the stuff Seth was doing in the belly and giving me healing. So after maybe about 4 hours, maybe 3 to 4 hours of the healing, doing like that, then I was just laying down, relaxed now, because I started releasing the tension, because I was so tense. I was field mode all the time. I was in battlefield mode all the time. Ready, like fighting with this God. And so now, I started to relax, and then I realized that, at that time I was saying universe. The universe was helping me. And I said, okay, so then when I was laying down and relaxed, and the energy was coming and doing all its work to helping me, then I felt like someone playfully hitting me with energy balls. And I'm like, seriously? Is someone hitting me with energy balls? And yes, it was. It was the self hitting me, playing playfully with me with energy balls, was telling me that, and explaining to me that this was a dream. This is, it was it was not real. This life was a game. And because I was so tense, and I wanted to get to the truth and the root of my existence, and so this was my first aware encounter with the primal light. But I did not even know it was the primal light at that time, right? Yeah. And she healed me, and then she pulled me out of the body and was playing, like back into the energy form, into the self form, and just playing and took me into like an oasis where the self gets to be healed from the trauma of this world. And I felt renewed, and when I returned back into the body, I knew a lot. I started knowing more things about the self. And knowing, that this world, I needed to relax now, because this was a game, this was a play, and I just had to allow the real. It's like a movie. I just had to allow to take its to unreal itself, I had to just go through the motions of everything that was happening. But because it was so traumatic for the self, that because when your spirit is awakened, because you're not asleep anymore, the spirit stays asleep, obscure behind the mind until it's awakened. So only the soul is going through the trauma, because the mind is not going to the trauma because the mind can relate to the consciousness, and unless that they're doing something to the mind, usually they want the soul, so they just control the mind. But the trauma is the soul is feeling the trauma of the way that they take the self, and so imagine that. Because now the self, the spirit is awake, and the soul. So I am going to double of these, and they're both separate in the bodies. And I did not even know that, because I knew they're supposed to unify, but I did not know how. The whole bit of, I said I want to be whole, I want to be unified, but I did not know exactly how the whole thing was supposed to play out. And so I learned that, the deceit of the gods. And I learned that they were not in awareness of themselves, because they were the one that rebelled against the supreme, the self-supreme. And it's the reason why they're tricking and deceiving the human beings to get your soul, because their light is obscure. They are experiencing the world only through consciousness. Just like when the spirit was sleeping, it was only experiencing the world through the mind. The ego was the only one experiencing the world. The self is sleeping, it's not experiencing the world at all. So when the mind is doing stuff, the ego is doing stuff, it's in pure ignorance. And it loves to make up stories, and it loves to tell, lies, because it's making up stories. Just think about it. How many times something happened and you don't know anything, but right away you start making up all these stories already. That's the mind. You get caught up in that loop of the imagination, and so and spread rumors. The gods, they did that a lot, and I realized that they were doing that a lot, because they did a lot of rumors spread against Isis, and I did not want to have any dealing with any god. So when I found out that the soul mission and the soul's identity. The soul identity was Isis, and so that Isis is merged back with me. So that's the one that people was calling out there in the dark, doing all kind of stuff. I have no idea what I was doing in unawareness. And so I'm telling you this because I wanted to have nothing to do with the gods, goddesses. I never called on any of them, and so to learn that myself was out there as a part of the goddess, the godship, that people were calling to do things. And so it is with all of us. All of us, when we come in here, where self is split into 8 self. Now the self-consciousness of ourself goes into the opposite side of the earth, where the light is obscure and it's dark. So, what's on the other side of the earth? What's on the other side of the earth? Yes, how come they never show us the other side of the earth? Because on the other side of the earth is where the light is obscure, and it is dark, pitch black. And that's where the invisible world is. The invisible world that wherein our self-consciousness and all the gods, that's where they dwell. Except for when the gods are dwelling where the people hang out here, like in the church, the mosque, the ashrams, the synagogue. Yeah, that's the other hangout place for them, because that's where they can get many people to give them their souls. But apart from those places in the visible world, their places in the invisible world. Yeah, they're in the invisible world where it's cold, and the world is built like our world, and they have a lot of advanced technology. This is why when you go into your dream, if you want something, you can bring it back from the invisible world into here. And that's what a lot of people have done. When you go into the dream world, you are twice in a dream within a dream. And remember that you have to leave the body here because the body can't go there. So only the self can go. So when people leave the self and they go to sleep in the night, it's the same place in the invisible world that you go when people leave the body itself. When you leave the body itself, when you know this so-called die, that you go back to that invisible world. So you know there is no real death. All you're doing is making appearance. When you're making a body and you're visible. And then you're invisible. You go back into the invisible world unless you have mastered yourself and claim your liberation from this cycle. You don't go back into the invisible world. Once you pass out of the visible world, you will merge back into the pure luminous consciousness. Because once you come here, you split yourself into 8 different selves. In the body, there's the 2 selves, the soul and the spirit, the baby self. But there's 2 other replicas of the self. One enters the world as another human being, and the other replica enters the world as a duality self.